the most wonderful time of the year. Hey guys, it's Aaron. I'm back with another review for you. Today is day 4 of my Halloween month. Today I'm going to be talking about the film White Zombie. And so I've got my notes. Let's dive right in. White Zombie, released July 28th, 1932, directed by Victor Halperin, starring Bela Lugosi, Mads Bellamy, Joseph Cawthorn, Robert W. Fraser, John Herron, and Brandon Hurst. So the film is initially inspired, but it's not. The screenplay is not necessarily based on a Broadway play by Kenneth Webb titled Zombie. And actually, Kenneth Webb sued the Halperins for copyright infringement, but he didn't win the case. But regardless, it's something of note, I thought, that when I was doing my research. So basically, the plot of this film is Bela Lugosi is this, I guess, I really don't know what he is necessarily. I mean, honestly, he's not a creature or anything like that. What I'm trying to say is I don't know what his deal is. He's like a witch doctor kind of thing. Anyway, so he um the lead character is wanting to get a woman to fall in love with him. And Bela Lugosi's like, okay, yeah, for a price, I can do that. And of course, it's the eternal soul and sell me your all that crap. But so that's where the whole plot is. So Bela Lugosi makes a deal with this man to get this woman to fall in love with him by using it's voodoo is basically what it is, because they explain that later or earlier, and it's like about how just so much voodoo running around and everything like that. And so that's where we're at. So uh just right off the bat, the scenery and the landscapes, especially for 1932, when this was filmed, look incredible. It's so good. If you look at the backgrounds and you're just watching, especially when they're outside doing things, it's top notch. I mean, it really holds up the test. I mean, we're talking 1932 and it still holds up this much. It's incredible. But so that was, one thing I saw, and I was just like, I gotta bring that up. But yeah, so the like I said earlier, as far as Bela Lugosi, the zombies are more hypnotized and voodoo. I mean, they are. He does get them from the grave, so they are the undead. But it's not like how we've seen in Walking Dead and Dawn of the Dead and things like that, where they're a lot more specifically flesh eating, running after you, that kind of thing. It's a lot different because it's a different time, and I don't even think those were even thought of yet. So, but yeah, so he he uses them as his pawns to do his bidding about what he wants to do, and he just hypnotizes them. Like I said, he uses these two like stone things, and he just like not even stone. They're like, I can't explain what they are, but they're these two things, and he can use them and make you bend to his will, which is definitely not what we see in zombie movies of today. There is an opening voodoo song, and I didn't look it up, but it is creepy. It's actually probably the creepiest part of the movie for me. I was just, sitting, and I've seen this film before, and I guess I never really picked up on it, but I'm sitting there listening, and I'm like, that's kind of creepy. um, the for those of you that have seen the film The Seventh Seal by Ingmar Bergman, the carriage driver to get the one that is picking up Bela Lugosi initially, it reminded me a lot of Death from that. So if you've seen that film, you know what I'm talking about. Um, but or you can just look it up. There's images and YouTube stuff all over the place. But yeah, I was watching that. I'm just like, kind of reminds me of Death from the Seventh Seal. But no, and it's and as always, especially with Bela Lugosi, as these movies tended to do back in the day, it relies on scariness, not jump scares and that kind of thing, which is always a-okay with me. I love that when they do that. So like I said, I took some more notes. Got rid of that, yeah, and it says, I'm sorry, guys. And well, I guess I talked about it all, so there you go. I don't have to ramble anymore. But there's this oh yeah. So I have never wanted to, like, whittle wood carving, that kind of stuff. I've never been a thing of mine. And then in the film, there's this moment where Bela Lugosi's doing it, and I'm like, I want to pick that up as a hobby now. I don't know if you guys will feel the same way, but I definitely was like, that's. I don't know why. It looks awesome. It's just, sometimes actors or just people in general do stuff, and it's just like, that's cool. Well, now I want to, wood carve because Bela Lugosi did it in White Zombie. So if nothing else, that's one thing I can take from him. But I think you can tell from where I'm at. I did like the film. I do like the film. Like I said, this wasn't the first time I've seen it. Um, but it's just a really solid film, and it can kind of go. It's not necessary. I mean, yes, it's White Zombie. It's about zombies and the undead and whatever. It is a horror film, but it doesn't necessarily. It's not pigeonholed to a horror film. You could watch this all year, and I think it would have the same results. It still is creepy no matter what, and you could watch it in you know April just as well as you could watch it in October, and I think it still holds up. It's not the traditional, even for back in the day. There's not. It's not. I think you could argue that outside of the title White Zombie, it's not, like I said, it's not a horror film, and people could argue that. I think they'd be wrong because it checks all the boxes to an extent, but it's very played down as far as some of the things in it. There's no jump scares. Like I said, that crap didn't really happen yet. There's no jump scares or anything like that. And when you think about what it is, like what we're actually seeing and witnessing and all that, that'd be scary. I mean, if you really found out that was going on, because as you see in the beginning, there's rumors of it, because they see all of the people singing that song. I think I was talking about in the opening is so creepy. But they're singing this song, and the protagonist is talking to the guy that's helping him with his luggage, and he's like, "What's going on here?" And he flat out says, "It's like voodoo. It's witch doctors and crap. Don't mess with it. Just stay away." So I mean, it's I think it's a situation of um, they were more scared of what would happen if they said anything, as opposed to you know just leaving it alone. Let it kind of be what it is, because the villagers clearly know what's going on, and of course, whenever they tell the lead, his curiosity spikes, and you're like, huh, I wonder. Blah, blah, blah. So everything he sees is like, oh, I wonder if this is connected to the voodoo thing. But it just goes to show, I think, as far as that, the also the level of control Bela Lugosi has over the people, even if they're not under his spell, so to speak. It's very interesting, just because you know they're terrified to even really talk about it, and he's got the town scared to death, and so no one really messes with him, and that's until this film, as you'll see. And I think that just it's like I said in my Dracula reviews. There's something about Bela Lugosi. He just has this presence, and I really think that the directors and writers of his other films were smart to write that in, because I think in a lot of action films and things like that of today's era, they'll write like, oh, okay, this character is just a badass just because it's Stone Cold Steve Austin or whoever it is, or Vin Diesel. And it's like, it may not even be true, but they're talking up Bela Lugosi's character in this, like, oh man, this guy's a force to be reckoned with. And when you see him, he's very commanding. And even at the end, when the plan's unraveling for him, he still maintains this control, like this fear control. I don't really know what it is necessarily, but if you watch the film, you understand what I'm talking about. And I heavily recommend you watch it. Like I said, it's a good film. I know I mentioned it again, and I'll mention it because I just think it's the coolest thing in the world that Kirk Hammett has a White Zombie guitar. But any of my Metallica fans out there like myself, I definitely recommend it. Just because it's cool to see the origin of things like that. I think where. you might not know where something came from and everything, and then y'all at the end of the day you'll get a cool movie out of it too. And it's a short one. That's for, and I know a lot of people, you're working and you're busy and you don't have time to watch these films, but this one's short. Did I write down? Oh, yep, it is. It clocks in at an hour and 7 minutes long. So that's nothing, guys. You know what I mean? That's an hour of that's an episode of whatever show you're watching. That's an episode of Dahmer. um, but yeah, it's on YouTube. Quality, of course, isn't the greatest because it's from back in the day, but it's incredible. It's really worth watching. I discovered it from this 50 horror classics thing that I bought at Radio Shack. If you guys remember what that is, kids. Um, and it had the Phantom of the Opera on it, Lon Chaney Senior, and I was like, it was like $3. I'm like, oh yeah, 50 movies for $3 like that. Okay, heck yeah. And a lot of them, the giant Gila monster was on that one, so a lot of them aren't the best quality, but this one I fell in love with right away. And so for people out there that maybe even want to own it, you could probably buy the individual one, but for maybe even $10 or whatever it would be on Amazon, it'd be worth buying just that $50 or 50 film set, because there's other ones on there that are just fun to watch. But and another thing, it gives people, I think, another look at Bela Lugosi, because most people, and I've talked about Dracula already, and there's a reason why he's the OG, but I think it's another film that will maybe broaden people's horizons to Bela Lugosi, because he wasn't a one man note. He wasn't just Dracula, although he was incredible as Dracula. Don't get me wrong. That wasn't his only thing. So you can check this out and be like, oh, okay, we can see other things about him. But I really think that's all I have about it. It's, like I said, great film. Definitely recommend it. Check it out on YouTube. Let me know what you guys think. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Because some of and I understand it's an older film and all that, but some of the sounds a little, the sound editing's not the greatest, and just a couple of things like that. It's mostly production issues. And like I said, it was filmed in 11 days. So I'm actually surprised it's as good as it is. So I'm sure that, obviously they didn't have a long production time, but they probably didn't even have long, takes necessarily. Like, they probably had like long days where it's like, get as many takes as you can. I didn't read a whole lot on that, but I mean, with the film being done in 11 days, you're bound to run into a couple issues. So with that being said, for the time period, for that short of a shooting schedule, it's actually a great film. I mean, when you really think about it, because to get the quality that you can get in 11 days, and like I said, there probably wasn't many retakes, and the finished product is still holds up all these years later. I mean, we're a long time talking when this was filmed. So I definitely give it my A-OK. I hope you guys check it out and let me know what you think. But overall, I'd give it an 8 out of a 10. And so we are. I just peeked down and I looked. I'm sorry. For my Star Wars nerds out there, they're in this professor's room, and at one point they're just looking, and there are these two thingies. I really don't know what they are, because they're just in the background. They don't ever talk about them, but they're these two things that are like rectangled like that, and it looks like Han Solo frozen in carbonite. Like, it looks like the carbonite box that he's in. I don't know if that was an inspiration from George Lucas later on in the Star Wars universe. I just happened to look, and I'm like, that looks like exactly what that is. So I wrote it down, and I just happened to glance at it. It's cool, but why is it there? I really don't know, because it's in a normal place, and it looks like it's maybe art or something. I don't know. Han Solo's definitely not in it, I can tell you that. But anyway, guys, I digress. Like I said, 8 out of 10. Check it out. I just, sorry about that last little whatever, but it just dawned on me, and you got to say something like that. But anyway, guys, Halloween month will continue with my next video. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Check it out, and I'll be back with you then. All right, take it easy.